It's Astrology Roast. I think it needs to sound like a shitty intro, like a funny shitty intro.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Astrology Roast. My name is Karen.
My name is Itai.
And we are, as always, very, very happy to be back with you on the airwaves, in the air, where I like to exist. Now, today's episode, I'm going to say sorry in advance because I'm going to talk about some things very, very close to my heart. Now, being close to my heart or intimate or vulnerable, Itai, similarly to you, it's not my safe space, but there are some topics which just bring that out of me. Namely, usually powerful, strong female musicians who have helped give me a sense of self and place in this crazy, chaotic world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And relatable.
Well, we'll see about that, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So, switch off if you want to. That's your business.
Oh, what a way to start an episode.
Yeah,
Stop listening, everyone.
I hate you all. No, I love you all. So on a Friday night recently, whilst other people are out and about, hitting the clubs and living their fun lives that I see on the Instagrams, I was at home with my plants and myself, going down a spiral of internet, YouTube, research and information about some very pivotal female singers who have helped me know myself better. And I think exploring that through astrology might also be useful as well. So who are those inspirations? Riri, Rihanna, Robin Fenty,
Rihanna,
and Alanis Morissette.
So you were at home going through a spiral of listening to them or reading their interviews?
Not listening. Well, I saw earlier this week some information that Riri was celebrating the 3-year anniversary of her pivotal album Anti.
Wow.
So she is celebrating that at the moment, and I'm sure that me and you might have mentioned on this podcast a couple of years ago, after listening and being inspired by that very album, we decided to create a musical that no one asked to be created. No one needed or wanted, but it happened anyway, and it was a musical called Anti-Further. You can follow us on Instagram, the Anti-Further account. I think it might still be active.
It's still there.
It's still there. There's some really wacky content on it. There's like 10 followers.
Yeah,
and
well,
one further.
So the thing about Anti-Further is that I think it was one of our first creative projects, and I remember it vividly how the star signs played the role of in the creation, because I was hanging my laundry in the living room. There was like 2 laundry hangers, and I was like, doing my most hated chore, which is cleaning, and we were listening to Anti, and you came.
My most hated chore being cleaning. Like
all
of the cleaning. That's
all
not
of
a chore.
them. Yes.
That's a practice.
And you said, how about we make this album a musical about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? And I was like, oh my God. And I got so practical. Let's find a date. Let's do this. And then we realized that, talking about the conflict is to white Jews and Israeli.
Super problematic. But it was also a play on words because Intifada, which was an awful aspect of the conflict where, a lot of bloodshed occurred. But anti and Intifada, you could mix the 2 words into Antifada, and it would be a musical based on Rihanna's music exploring the conflict within the Middle East. Now, it seemed like a no-brainer at the time.
I think it needs to happen because Rihanna is obviously a channel and so many people are connected to her. And if we can solve the Middle East conflict through her music, then it's a win-win situation to everyone.
I agree.
And I remember how much we really wanted to be sued by her company.
Yeah.
Like, we were like, oh my God, they're going to sue us. It's going to be all over the news. Obviously, it didn't happen. We ended up doing a show called Anti-Further, and it was about love and heartbreak, and it's available on social media if you want to go and watch it. I'm very proud of it. I think it's amazing, obviously, but I think that about everything that I do, so...
and I guess the real origin of that show was the Anti-album, which sparked a love affair for me for Rihanna and everything that she represents, everything she stands for. And I remember at the time, whilst I was, engaged in a guerrilla campaign of marketing for Anti-Further, for the musical, I was chatting about it at my then workplace, and a superior at my workplace made a comment about Riri, which really stuck with me. She said, she's such a bad role model. She went back to Chris Brown. How can you be into that? And I just remember feeling so defensive and so kind of confused about that, and feeling like, no, you don't know the real Riri and you don't know what she actually stands for. And I've done many spirals of watching her videos and her interviews and reading the content that she's put out there, and I maintain that she is an incredible channel, and she is an ancient wisdom. She's a Pisces with an Aries rising, and
moon,
and she makes me feel a strength that is something very, very special.
And for those of you who don't necessarily know what we're referring to, a few years ago there was the incident where Chris Brown physically abused Rihanna. There was the picture was released, left her basically on the road and drove away, or left her at the car and ran away. I don't really remember the exact details, but what happened is that she went back to him right after, and then she also had interviews about how she realized that people look up to her, and she decided to leave him all at once. But I think that notion of judging her for that is very, like, we are not being judged when we are in shit relationships. We are not being judged when we are in abusive relationships. And I understand why people look at celebrities and think they should be a role model, but I also think that is even more inspiring, the fact that she acted like a normal person.
Absolutely.
And went back to the person that abused her, like so many people do, and we've also had our fair share. But then she also spoke up about it, and now she's just, I think the fucking amazing thing about Rihanna is what you said about her being a channel, and the fact that she doesn't care. She speaks her truth.
She speaks her truth. And yeah, in that context, she is the ultimate example of victim blaming. And yet she has always refused to be a victim. And she speaks a lot about how she didn't want to be known as a victim, as someone just for that incident. And she's so, so much more than that. And she has come to represent a lot for me. But the Anti-album is her in her Pisces channel element. And that album, I don't get why I loved it so much. It's not as if it's got all the bangers of her singles, but it's just her, as you're saying, giving zero fucks and leaning into the sounds and the beats and the style of music and creativity that she feels most connected to. She did post recently on her Insta about the 3-year anniversary and how proud she is of that album, and she refers to music as the gateway drug for her in terms of creativity, and as her first love. It will always be her first love, because she's gone on since to do makeup, which is amazing. She does her lingerie line. She's obsessed with fashion, and she's really has her finger on the pulse, and she hasn't made a lot of music since, but I love that she refers to music as a gateway drug, because most people refer to gateway drugs as a negative thing, but her being the Pisces who loves to smoke a blunt like whenever and wherever she can, she's like, I'm going to compare it to weed, because it's amazing. It's totally one of her first loves. In terms of like some of the actual quotes that I've been obsessed with in reading about the Anti-album, which was a pivotal moment in my small life.
Worth mentioning, that she released it during her Saturn return.
Oh, yes, I think that's why I really connected to it, because we were going through it, I think, at a similar time. And she was talking a lot about how she needed to make something that represented her growth. She didn't want to make anything that was for the radio or that sounded like anything she'd done before. And she wanted something that she would listen to and that she'd want to smoke to.
Pisces,
exactly. And she also she says that when you really follow the things that feel great to you, you can never lose, because settling is the worst feeling in the world. And Riri's always had these amazing one-liners about how she gets bored with men. They're just not that interesting to her sometimes. And this is a really big shift for her because back in the day when she was on the Ellen show, she'd talk about, oh, I just haven't found the right one yet, and you know, hopefully that day will come. And she had a bit of a different quality. She was much younger. And now, I mean, I'm sure she still connects, you know, with people physically and intimately, and maybe she does want a partner, but she always talks about, they're just boring to me.
I don't need a man. Let's start with that. Exactly. That's a quote. That's a direct quote. There's so many memes.
And I don't know if anyone's seen her, like, cooking on Instagram, but she cooks like macaroni and cheese, and she puts it on her Insta stories, and it's just the most fun you'll ever have with anyone on the internet. Literally. She also has spoken that you need to know who you are. She says things like, you know when something is you and you know when you love it, and that's the only thing that matters. But she also talks a little bit about how she just focuses on her own projects, and it's too much to handle to focus on anything other than her projects. Like, it's a lot for me. These are quotes. But the thing that I love the most is that during the time of Auntie, she also was in a famous photo shoot where her nipples were fully visible in a sheer dress. I think it was in a fashion awards show, and it was like a shock media moment of Riri with her nipples out. I mean, now that would be just like another day in the media, but at the time it was quite a shock. And she has spoken about it lovingly in a Vogue article where she says, quote unquote, I've always freed the nipple. It was never to get attention, never sexual, never in desperation. The bra just fucked up my sheer shirt. I just wanted to be perfect, and that's what I went with, and I felt okay with that. I remember saying that day to my stylist and everyone in the room, hair and makeup, everyone. I was just like, now you see it. She's referencing her nipple here, by the way. Tomorrow you won't, because this is the last time. I can't go any further than this. I'm barely there. So I said, from here on, we'll be back to clothes. Let's just put clothes on. Even if I don't want to, make sure I put clothes on.
Oh my God.
And I just love it because, yeah, she got a lot of shame for it. Similarly to what people say about the Chris Brown stuff. People shamed her, and then a movement started called #FreeTheNipple. And she was kind of pivotal in that. She's always ahead of the game and starting trends without even intending to.
Which is, again, a Pisces trait. It's like, I know the truth, but kind of like, but not planning to, by accident, I'm starting this movement of changing society, literally. And that is, I think the quote you just read is fucking perfect for that, because it's almost like that. I'm too tired to be that savior, but I can't help it but to be that person to everyone, because I'm a Pisces and I hold the truth. And I posted on Instagram recently a tweet from the Astrology Roast account that says, Rihanna is a Pisces, and that's why even when she sings about having sex in a club, it sounds like a wisdom from the gods. And I think that is literally that, like being able to be a channel. And then everyone was starting to comment, yeah, but it's because she's an Aries moon and Aries rising. And then someone just wrote in the comments, fuck you all trying to take Rihanna to your zodiac sign. She's a Pisces. And I have to agree. I think she's definitely a Pisces. Like, she sings, please don't stop the music. I want to shake this dress away. Come feel me. But it just, you listen to her and you're like, I'm having a spiritual experience right now just listening to your voice.
Yeah, if I listen to a song, Sex With Me So Amazing, and Beyonce was singing that, it has a very different flavor and tone to when Riri sings Sex With Me Sounds So Amazing, or Bitch Better Have My Money, or Higher, or all of these things that are, they're everyday things, but there's something ancient and wise in the way that she is delivering them, even in her lingerie line. Like, we've spoken about this before, but the body positivity, instead of her screaming about body positivity and love yourself, she embodies it. She's like, talks about it in a real fucking way. And there's something absolutely delightful and inspiring about it. And I get shivers. If one person from this podcast will listen to, or even listen to her talks, let alone her, her
interviews. So there's so much to talk about when it comes to music and astrology. And even making this episode, I was, looking up singers' star signs, looking up lyrics of singers. And it's fucking amazing to see how people actually put their energy, their zodiac sign energy into their songs and into the music. But also how we choose to listen to music based on our star sign. So if it's for example, when we saw our top star sign on Spotify for the year, and I was like, I'm listening to Cancerians, I'm listening to water signs all the time. But then it reminded me when I was like 15, and even to this day, you know how when people ask you, what kind of music do you like? It's always basically, I'm going to judge you. I'm going to judge your answer. Like, tell me who you listen to so I can decide what I think of you.
Yeah, just once I want to say like Powderfinger or something really dorky. I mean, Powderfinger has no reference to anyone outside of Australia, but...
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Trying to think what's the equivalent of Powderfinger, like a dorky rock band. Creed? Maybe Creed?
Maybe Creed. So, but I feel like people would feel way more confident saying like, they love Creed than like they love Christina Aguilera, for example.
I think that's coming back, though. Pop is now having a renaissance.
Obviously, like astrology. Anyway, so it brought me back to this time where I actually cared, and where when people ask me, what do you listen to? I would never straight away say, I listen to Britney, I listen to NSYNC, I listen to Justin Timberlake. I just would say, oh, I listen to Bjork, I listen to whatever the quality artists that I was listening to, which I love. I love Bjork, but let's be honest. Like
one listen to Bjork once a month or 2 months is more than enough.
Yeah, like once a month I'll have a moment where I need to listen to Bjork. But most of the days I will listen to Hilary Duff Greatest Hits album, you know?
Yeah.
But I would say Bjork and then I thought, wait a second. Astrology have this whole concept of a rising sign, ascendant sign, and then which is what people perceives you to be, and then your sun sign, your Mars, your Venus, whatever. And then I realized that my rising sign is Aquarius, and it's ultimately the sign that cares about looking cool, looking like they know, not looking, they actually like listening to the most unique artists, wearing the most unique clothes. And I was like, oh, so I was actually caring to not look basic. I didn't want to be a basic bitch. So I said, I listened to Bjork. And then after I got the stamp of approval for being cool, I would say I also listen to Britney. But obviously now when people ask me what I listen to, it's like, it's Britney bitch. But and I thought it's a cool way. Like, I don't know if everyone can relate to that, but to ask yourself, what do I tell people when they ask me, play me a song that you like, or which artist do you like, and then which artist do you actually like? So you said you were going down a Rihanna spiral?
I was, and I went from that to, I don't know how, but to Alanis Morissette, who, you know, exciting as it is to say, is turning, or has turned, Jagged Little Pill, her pivotal album from 1995, I think, or 1996, into a musical. And that musical has now been turned into a Broadway musical. The script has been written by Diablo Cody, who did Juno.
What is
a Gemini. And Alanis Morissette is also a Gemini. And Jagged Little Pill, the actual album, is a Gemini album. It was released in June, like in the Gemini time. And I just also went through a spiral of exploring Alanis Morissette in particular, Jagged Little Pill, because that is a record of the fucking ages. It is, I would argue, one of the most Gemini albums ever.
Probably.
And she's probably one of the most Gemini performers ever, because she is such a wordsmith and such a poet. And she also writes a lot about, you know, both aspects of experience. She explores all sides of an experience. And she's so annoying as well. Like she like some of the things that she says or talks about, that is literally me now and also in 10 years' time. So I think I might have mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, but I have gone through a stage where I identified as a empath / highly sensitive person. I was like, well, why am I feeling all these feelings?
I thought
all the
it's
time?
now.
Well, still now, but I've got a lot of different hats that I'm wearing. So I don't want to stick to any one, but I did read a lot of material and watched a lot of shows about empaths and highly sensitive people, and I identified with that. Alanis Morissette legitimately, not even in jest, identifies as an empath. So she feels the feelings of others. She's very sensitive, very emotional. She's highly creative, all these qualities which I'm probably not, but identified with for a week. So she literally identifies as one. And she's gone down a full pseudo, but also actual horrific spiritual journey, which makes me feel like vomiting because it's so relatable to me. And I'm like, wow, I'm not very unique at all. And also, wow, I'm a carbon copy of Alanis Morissette. So she is now, she's home birthed her 2 children. She's all into natural and organic skincare. She has a guru that she follows. She meditates daily and on the reg. She chopped all her hair off.
I just don't believe Geminis can meditate. I'm sorry.
Exactly. She literally does. As a highly sensitive person, an empath and a Gemini, she needs quiet time and time to be alone, which anyone that is an air sign has probably been told you actually do need time to recharge your batteries away from people. Despite being drawn to people, they actually exhaust you a lot. She's crazy. She's also going out with a white rapper, a conscious rapper.
Who is this?
Just some dude. I don't even know if he's famous. He seems to have a lot of albums, but that's her partner, her loving partner, and her kids' names are like Onyx and Phoenix and something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised if that white rapper is actually her pretending to be someone.
Honestly, probably. She also starred in the Vagina Monologues back in the day when she spoke explicitly about her vagina before it was really cool to talk about that. And it's hilarious if anyone has time to watch on YouTube her talking out loud about her bits. It is hilarious and so Alanis. She also starred as Carrie Bradshaw's female love interest on Sex and the City.
Oh my God, Geminis. They do it all.
I know, and she also still doesn't reveal who You Ought to Know is written about, which is so typically Gemini, to tease everyone with this explicit song.
There was this discussion on Instagram, like at the beginning of the year, which star sign is going to be the most hated this year.
Yeah.
Last year, it was... Because on the Instagram, like all the memes that shame everyone. Last year, I think the ones that got the most shit was Scorpios. And then everyone was saying, like, Gemini, this year it should be Gemini. And I was commenting, like, saying, no, Geminis. Yeah, because I protect you guys. And I think they kind of, like, chose to bully Libra, which I don't see much... like hate.
It's not really enjoyable to bully a Libra.
I know
they care.
I don't know. They care, but they also like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out what I think about that Libra complex of really loving themselves, but also deeply hating themselves. And I know they're one of those duality kind of signs that have both, but I don't know if I believe that. I don't know. We'll see. I'm still exploring. I want to say that when you told me everything about Alanis being a Gemini, I was just nodding, because even before knowing she's a Gemini, I always noticed her songs being like, I'm this and I'm that, I'm this and I'm that, or
I'm young and I'm old.
Or like the twist, like in ironic, it's always like, you think it's this, but it actually this. He went on the plane, and the plane crashed. It's always like, she's building her songs in a very like...
And in the background of her songs is a crazy person who ex-partners are clearly fleeing from.
Yes.
Like it's always, she's sitting around and like hating on them silently whilst they're clearly running away. I really identify with Alanis, and that's why I think she kind of rubs me the wrong way, but I deeply, deeply love that album. I found a quote of hers, which is super, super Gemini, which she said in 1996. So basically, she wanted there to be the shortest distance from the personal to the universal when creating that album. And with all of those amazing songs like Ironic and You Ought to Know and Hand in My Pocket, it was like an hour or an hour and a half that she wrote the song. So she literally just wrote it, and they were all recorded in 1 or 2 takes maximum. Wow. So it was really amazing. Like, she just wanted to get it out there. And she says, quote unquote, there's no better feeling than when you write something that you know is a piece of you and that at some point is going to communicate to someone else. Communication is what I get off on. So Geminis / anyone ruled by Mercury, but air signs, she just wants to communicate. And what I love about Alanis and Riri's pivotal albums is that they were both so wonderful because they both chose the way of creating that works with their star sign, with their nature. I mean, I've got to do a bit of a shout out to the lyrics in You Ought to Know, which are some of the most twisted lyrics to read out loud. And again, it's because I identify with them, and I would have said something like this to many people that I've encountered in this crazy thing we call life.
Give it to us.
You ought to know. I'm just going to read some of the lyrics. So first off, she starts saying by, I want you to know that I'm happy for you. I wish nothing but the best for you, both. Which is something that I've often said. Like, I shivered when I read it out. I'm like, oh my God, I often wish people the best, like all the best, because maybe I don't wish them the best, or I am worried that I won't have the best in my life. And so it's this mantra that I can say again and again because it just fills in space and it makes me feel safe. Then she says, an older version of me, is she perverted like me? Would she go down on you in a theatre? Does she speak eloquently? #Gemini. And would she have your baby? #crazy Gemini. I'm sure she'd make a really excellent mother. I mean, don't you hear the sarcasm? And then she says, and every time I scratch my nails down someone else's back, I hope you feel it. Well, can you feel it?
Oh my God.
And she refers to him as Mr. Duplicity. Like, who knows how to use the word duplicity in a
song.
Popular song that won Grammys and was loved by teenage girls and some boys.
Some boys.
For years.
Somewhat boys.
Somewhat boys.
And let us not forget, I hate to bug you in the middle of dinner.
Yeah, I hate to bug you. Of course, you don't hate to bug the person.
Of course you know
You
he's
want to
having
bug them.
dinner, you Gemini stalker. And it's like classic Gemini to just barge into someone else's dinner and just say, I hate to bug you in the middle of dinner, but also you have to know. You ought to know what I'm thinking right now.
And she also goes, I'm not quite as well. I thought you should know. It's not a private thing. I thought you should know. And then I wrote $1 million huge popular charting album about it. And it's going to be forever, like the seminal album. And then I've turned it into a Broadway musical.
Yes. And speaking about the Gemini, how would you call it? Gemini...
Lyricism?
Skills. No, the skills of stalking by the Gemini. I would like to give a practical tool for the listeners of our podcast. So I was talking to one of our Gemini listeners on the Instagram, of course, and we discussed a stalking tool that I think is very useful. I'm going to put it in here for anyone that needs help, extra help in stalking their ex-boyfriend or girlfriend or the dad that left them when they were 4, whatever it is for you. So there is this thing called reversed image search. So Google image search, but reversed. What you do, you basically take a screenshot of the picture that you want to find the source of, or if you want to know more about the person. So let's say you're talking to someone on Tinder and they don't have any account linked to their Tinder, but you want to find something more about them. So you take a screenshot of their profile picture and you search it on the Google reversed image search. And then it tells you anywhere online that this picture is.
How can it recognize... So it just finds the picture. It can't tell you...
So if, let's say, your profile picture on Tinder is also your profile picture on Facebook, so through that I can find your Facebook. But it also...
if it's not connected to anything?
So it's not, but it's a good tool to use. But also, I think it's a good tool to use to protect yourself, because I've been approached a few times by people, fake people on apps, and I had a sense that something's off. So I looked up their picture, and then I realized that they stole this picture from like a famous Instagram person. And I was like, you're 2 meters away from me and asking me to send you my dick pic. But actually your profile picture is the profile picture of someone from Atlanta that has like 60,000 followers and is straight and married. So I'm like...
So it can be protective.
Yeah, so that's just a stalker tool that if you need to protect yourself. Back to the Gemini artist, I think it's important to give a shout out to Kendrick Lamar and Kanye West, 2 Geminis that are masters of lyrics. And I think any Gemini artist, if you Google right now Gemini musicians, you will probably find out that all of them have this thing with lyrics.
Yeah, Prince, as I've said many times, his lyrics, what's that song where he says, I want to be your mother, your sister,
and your
friend, your lover.
Yeah.
I want to be the only one that makes you come. Like, he wants to control all of you.
Yeah.
And
he loves
he's so Gemini.
Yep. Another, not Gemini, but another really appropriate album to a star sign is Demi Lovato, which we both love and appreciate. Her journey with, mental health, self-harm, being open, talking about her. She even has a song called Daddy Issues. And she says, lucky for you, I got all these daddy issues. I'm going crazy when I'm with you. And then she says, like, whenever you don't answer my phone, I just want to talk to you more. #relatable.
Oh my God. It reminds me of the time of when a friend of mine told me in very polite terms that I have to read this book about attachment called Attached. And it shows everything about, my attachment issues. And I was like, well, thank you. But
it helps.
I got it from the library.
So Demi Lovato's last album is called Tell Me You Love Me.
Oh, I love her. She's very needy.
And it's a Leo. It's like, tell me you love me. I need to know that. And the way to know that is by you telling me that.
Her most recent Instagram post, which, might also be classified as a very Leo post, she posted 2 pictures of her looking really gorgeous in a formal dress, saying, congratulations to my beautiful sister and her partner on their wedding day. So amazing. I love you both. Like, no picture of the wedding.
Just a picture of her.
Just 2 pictures of her. I swiped and I was like, oh, obviously the next picture will be of her sister or of the wedding. But no, it was just 2 hot photos of Demi.
Oh my God, I love it. Now, I was looking for artists that are in Aries. And I saw Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, which felt really appropriate because we all know how Aries people are very sexual, ruled by Mars, can go all night, etc., etc.
Oh.
Well, that's what the memes say. That's what the memes say.
Great. So Geminis just get like stalking tips, and you can, you have a song about sexual healing.
When I get that, but it also very Aries. Like when I get that feeling, he's probably talking about being sad. I need sexual healing. It's like avoiding. If I'm sad, I'm just going to go out. I'm just going to do something sexual to distract myself. But another person is Lady Gaga. She's an Aries, and she is all about me, me, me. I am. Literally Aries, I am. And whatever she's going through, everyone needs to know about. My favorite part is when she wrote Born This Way, which is the anthem about loving who you are. There's nothing wrong with loving who you want or being who you are.
She also was deeply shamed by the media for her looks and for, people kind of saying that she looks like a man, or seriously, I hope we've moved beyond that.
Oh my God.
She was just being herself, and now she's becoming a bit more celebrated and more
definitely
broadly recognized.
The funny thing is that like a month before she released Born This Way, in a very Aries move, she wrote on her Facebook, this was before I think Twitter was there, but people were still sharing on Facebook. She wrote, I just wrote the anthem of a generation. And she just wrote that about her own song. I just wrote the anthem of a generation. Can't wait for all of you to hear it. And then she released Born This Way and was accused for stealing it by Madonna.
Oh God.
That wrote...
Another shy. Wait, what star sign's Madonna? I always forget it.
So Madonna is a Leo.
Yeah.
And Ken a Leo.
Love her.
And she also very Leo, very changing your persona. Every album, one album she's a cowgirl.
What was that sad song that your Aries friend was obsessed with that we played the other night?
So Madonna has a song called Ecstatic Process. I don't know if that was the one he liked. It was basically a song about being in love, but not acknowledge, or not making when your partner make you feel like you're not as important. And it was obviously touched the Aries that wants to be important. But we also looked up artists and how they're using their voice. So a lot of artists will speak up or will try to make a change in the world. And it was also interesting to see how the star signs aligned with that. So we have Lady Gaga, which is all about self-love and self-actualization, which is very Aries. Born This Way was stolen, according to some people, from a Madonna song called Express Yourself, which is a very Leo song, which she's saying, don't go for second best, baby. Put your love to the test. Express yourself. And I'm pretty sure it's the video where she was wearing men's clothes, suits, and also was accused of she was basically making a statement about you could express yourself whichever way you want. And then Madonna, in a very Leo way, when she performed that song, when Born This Way came out, she would perform a mashup of Express Yourself and Born This Way.
God,
So
reclaiming.
She would perform Express Yourself, and then she would just go naturally into Born This Way, and everyone in the crowd was like, "Oh, you didn't." It was like a very shady thing.
I think that's when Madonna is at her best, when she's being full limelight. Like, I do think she loses a bit of her power when she tries to play acoustic music on Instagram to prove that she is a singer of her generation. Like, I think it's safe to say that she's not a singer of her generation, but she's many, many other huge pivotal things.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she did star in Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, Evita, the
She's not a
amazing film, League of Their Own.
Yeah, she was never known for her vocals, but she definitely made a lot of social changes and, you know, sang about a lot of LGBT female empowerment things.
Her book, Sex...
Yeah.
When I worked in a public library, they had to hide it because it kept getting stolen because it was obviously overtly so sexual. This was back in the day before sex was so publicly available on the internet and in life. But it kept getting stolen by the creeps at the library, so they had to have it in the basement and people needed to request it. So, yeah, she's a real...
My favorite thing about Madonna is that she... You know how people get famous and then in the interview they say, like, I never thought I was going to be on this stage. I was singing with a bottle of shampoo next to the mirror on my bed. I would put all my teddy bears in front of me and perform to them. And she always said from her first album, when sexist interviewers asked her, like, did you think you can do it? She's just saying, yeah, that's the only thing I think I should.
I love that. I love
literally,
that.
and you see people ask her, how does a girl from this and that to this, and she's like, that's what I was born to do.
And she was Italian.
Yeah.
And so is Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a similar quality there of self-belief and a desire for celebrity. Like, same with Lady Gaga, she really is obsessed with being a celebrity. There's no, I'm a shy flower here. And I think, so maybe when I identify as Italian, I'm actually just identifying as a Leo or an Aries.
You spoke about your identification with Leos already.
Yeah, I do. I'm stepping into it. I really am.
Don't
stop me. Stop trying to stop me and box me.
Are you talking to yourself?
I don't know.
John Lennon, a Libra, wrote the anthem for peacemaking as Libras love. Imagine all the people living life in peace.
Yeah, how did he end? That didn't end well.
Nah, well, it usually doesn't, but it's a very Libra thing to say. We also have the Virgos, because we know how Beyonce and Michael Jackson, Queen and King of the craft, you know, the Virgos crafting their songs. Michael Jackson singing about healing the world, just like Mother Teresa, another Virgo. And Man in the Mirror, which is the self-criticism and anxiety that Virgos tend to have.
And it's really interesting because both Beyonce and Michael Jackson are these huge powerhouses of music, and yet I've never been able to connect.
Because it's crafted, we talked about it.
It's so crafted, it's so cultivated, and it's so slick, and they are unbelievable. Like, I respect it.
Yeah.
But it's something about that immaculate quality, which it must be a Virgo quality too. It's like getting it all right, and I love the messier.
Yes, 100%.
Components.
And Beyonce also trying to now get everyone to be vegan, which I totally support. But it's really funny that she's basically doing this challenge right now that if you turn vegan for 60 days or something, you get into a lottery, which then one person will win free tickets to her concerts and Jay-Z's concerts for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
So if you turn vegan, you can get free tickets forever, which is, it's also fun. It's also very Virgo, like the reward system and also the system.
And it's really practical. It's like the most efficient way to get the most people converted to veganism.
Definitely. I think another honorable mention is Gwen Stefani, which is a Libra, and her song If I Was a Rich Girl, with Eve, which I'm pretty sure is also a Libra, which is all, we always talk about how Libras love shiny things and love money, and this is like If I Was a Rich Girl, and the whole song is basically a celebration of that. And my favorite Scorpio, Frank Ocean.
I love that he's adopted last name is Ocean, being the watery
The water.
Scorpio deep sign. And they say still waters run deep.
Yeah, and his songs, which are, you listen, you don't even need to understand
So
English.
sad. They're so sad.
It's so sad. Sometimes I play it in the house and Karen will go like, I can't listen to him right now.
It's so sad. Beautiful, but it just makes me, when that song comes on,
Godspeed. Which is also, so he has a song called Godspeed, which is releasing a lover and telling them, I'm wishing you Godspeed, glory. There will be mountains you can't move.
This is my attachment issues. I can't be in relationship.
But he says at the end, you just know that you will always have a place to call home, and that's him. And coming from a Scorpio,
Tears me up.
releasing someone for realsies, and saying,
Yeah.
I'm wishing you all the best, and you can always come back. It's
Not like Alanis is wishing you all the best.
Yes, like-
and I'm outside.
with your shit
I'm
in
outside your house.
Yeah. It touches like the deepest parts. And I know Taurus people always say we never talk about them.
So now's your chance, Itai.
Well,
What do you have to say?
the ultimate Taurus, we mentioned her on the podcast on our Earth Signs episode, but since then I learned more about Tauruses, and I'm happy to mention her again, is Adele. Is there anyone more consistent and physical loving and loyal than Adele? Like in her music, all of her songs is like, I beg you to love me. Just think back on what you liked in me in the first place. Maybe we will love again. Like,
She also says, I wish nothing but the best for you.
yeah,
In one of her songs, Someone Like You, but she actually seems to mean it.
yeah. She has that type of love, that type of Taurus love, which is, I'm there until you're not there, and that's like, I will only move on when you will tell me bye. And it's a very Taurus, and I think it's an amazing trait because we live in a generation where people give up on relationships so easily, like including obviously me, and we think that hard work is like not something that we really value when it comes to love. And I think Adele's music is basically saying love is hard work, love is something that needs to be consistent.
And she chooses like realistic men in her videos. Like she doesn't choose like Britney chose Sam Asghari, who she licked his hand or something in one of her videos with Tinashe.
She licked spilled milk.
She
that
licked
was in
spilled
front of
milk.
him.
I mean, true story. She did end up asking that model out. He's 24, and they are still together to this day,
Yeah.
Sam Asghari. But no, Adele just chooses like kind of the guy next door, these cute,
Yeah.
friendly, bear-like men that she sings about. When these kind of, the lighting in her videos is always very flattering and
Ruled
very
by
gentle.
Venus.
Ruled by Venus. They're very sensual.
Yeah.
She has a good laugh, good friendly laugh.
Yes, and I really learned to appreciate the consistency and the humor and the comforting that Taurus people offer. So I think this has been so fun to explore music and star signs. There is obviously so much more and so many more people that we haven't mentioned that I encourage everyone to go up, look, Google your favorite artists, check their birthdays, Google yourself, just for fun. And do you want to add anything? Oh my God! Before we go, I have to read my favorite Bjork lyrics that I was concernedly connected to when I was 16 from her song Hyper Ballad. Is that okay with you, Karen?
Please.
Okay, so Bjork is a Scorpio, and she has a song called Hyper Ballad that you should probably know because it's one of her most famous songs.
She's also a really maritime Scorpio. She loves the ocean, and she lives next to a lighthouse in the middle of...
Yeah, she's from Iceland, isn't she?
She is, but she does live near the sea.
Yeah.
Probably a freezing sea, but she lives near the sea. She's very water signs vibe.
Yeah, and I was listening to this song, and I was talking on this podcast about, relationships and struggle with relationships. And that feeling when you're in a relationship and you wake up and you feel trapped. Or not even you wake up, you just enter your apartment or whatever and you feel just trapped.
Yeah, in imaginary relationships too.
Yeah, so I when I was 15, it was even before I had a boyfriend. It was probably right before my first kiss. And I was connecting to this song so much. Looking back, it is a red like sign. It's an alert. It's an alert sign. But growing up and learning more about relationships, I feel like now I understand that she writes in her song about how every morning before her lover wakes up, she goes to the cliff and she throws things off the cliff.
Oh my goodness.
And then in the second verse, she says, it's early morning, no one is awake. I'm back at my cliff, still throwing things off. I listen to the sound they make on their way down. I follow with my eyes till they crash. I imagine what my body would sound like slamming against those rocks. And when it lands, will my eyes be closed or open? Which is like, you hear it and you're like, oh my God, suicidal, blah, blah, blah. It's very strong.
Very distressing.
Yeah. But she explains why she does it. And she doesn't throw herself off. She says, I go through all this before you wake up so I can feel happier to be safe up here with you. And then she says that again and again and again and again. But it's like, you don't need to really, she doesn't need to jump, but she needs to know. She just needs to entertain the thought of, I don't want to be in this relationship. And I think everyone feel a lot of shame when they don't want to be with their partner, or when they question, do I like my job? Do I like my partner? Do I like this? And they're like, have to shut all those feelings down and put them deep. But Björk is saying in a very scorpionic, dark kind of way.
Yeah, that deep attachment.
Yeah, she's saying, I wake up and I go to the cliff and I throw things off and I go through my feelings and I feel like I have to throw myself so I can be happier and safe with you. Like, there is no happy me with you if there is no sad me with you.
And I think the beauty of all the songs and albums that we've mentioned today is it is the truest expression of these artists. Yeah, sure, maybe not all of them wrote all the lyrics or the music, like that is irrelevant. They are all in their own way using this expression to aid their own development and their catharsis and their healing. Some in a fucked up way, like Alanis, wishing nails in someone's back as she has freaky Gemini sex whilst actually scratching someone's back. Or some in their own crazy way, like Björk, sitting on the edge of her cliff, a metaphorical or actual cliff, throwing stones in there and then quietly scurrying back into bed with their lover that they will never, ever let see the light of day because they're clutching so strongly with their scorpionic claws. I still have a lot of unresolved stuff around Scorpios, obviously. Or Riri just being fucking real and amazing.
Yes.
Like, it's just this beautiful thing. And then across the other side of the world, we are sitting here, you in Israel, identifying as a 15-year-old with Björk, throwing rocks off the cliff, and me on the other side of the world identifying with Riri's, smoking weed, sex with me, so amazing.
Wow.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No.
But they are giving the world something very, very beautiful through their talents and their resources and their knowledge and their ancient wisdom. And that is damn cool.
Amazing. Thank you for tuning in. Have a listen to our beautiful segment, Storytime with Lori Time, and we can't wait to see you again next week.
It's story time with Lori Time. Sit back, recline, it's story time with Lori Time. It's telling my story, such a crime. Okay, so I'm the youngest of three, two older brothers, 6 and 8 years older than me. And let's just say I grew up on a TV diet of porn and Full House. So it was very confusing for me. Very confusing. But somehow I found my way in between. And one day I also really discovered my love. You may hear I have quite a raspy voice. And I kind of discovered from quite a young age that I love singing and that I maybe was going to be a bit of a singer. So I was always and forever practicing. And recently I stumbled across a cassette tape. So I had to find something to play it on. And I played it, and it was me probably at the age of 6, maybe 5. And I was reciting a series of songs. And the one that stood out was Adon Olam. It's actually a Jewish prayer Not even sure what it's for, because like this, Adon Olam, Hashem Allah. So it goes like that. And all of a sudden I'm singing, B'terem kol yetzi. And then you just hear from the other room as I'm singing, in a really faint background voice, shut up, you little shit, or I'll rearrange your face. And then I just resume. And I say, I'm sorry for that interruption. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem kol yetzi nivra.